7-speed. This one happens to be the 8-speed with the paddle shifting, which I'm not exactly 100% the biggest fan of. The 7-speed with the clutch is much better in my opinion, and it's much more of a driver car, although this one does allow you to have much of the in-car experience of trying to just keep the car on the track, on the road, instead of having to worry about all the shifts and all that kind of stuff to make you, in a lot of ways, be a better driver. But those people who drive manuals wouldn't agree. Today, I'm going to go over a few really pretty short points about the car, try to get you a good viewpoint of it, some walk-arounds, some good views and pictures of the car. I'm in a few Southern California canyons with the car today, and I got to tell you that it is actually pretty docile for the most part, but this is a pretty common thing that people know about the Z06s by now, that if you step in it and you don't respect the power, it will bite you tremendously. And that's something I have learned very quickly, to learn to respect the car when I drove the 7-speed car. So now that I have the white one in the 8-speed, I'm already ahead of the game on it in a weird way. So this is the best thing about this car. Alright, I guess 115 is okay. It's not really what we should be doing on these streets of Mexico. So with my thing about cars is I'm a big visual person, and not only sound, of course, everybody loves the sound of an engine and all that kind of stuff with revs, but when you look at a car, the first thing you fall in love with is sight, and that's something I learned a long time ago. And Corvettes tend to be one of those cars that grab everybody's inner child, kind of like a Lamborghini Countach that people would have on posters on their wall back when they were kids. So this car has that really aggressive styling standpoint, something that it looks like when you let the GM designers off their leash and let them do something that everybody tends to love. And some people, you know, give and take it of what they like out of a car, but I personally love the design of the car, especially the Stingray in the first place when it came out. The body styling is amazing, but the Z06 gets even better. And being an aggressive styling standpoint is a really cool thing when you see like a Ferrari F12 or a LaFerrari or anything like that. You have those really aggressive styling standpoints that stand out, and the Z06 is no different from that, because the car is, the Z06 alone is 3.15 inches wider than the stock Stingray, and that's just on all bodywork and making the track width wider and making it go around a corner better and putting bigger tires on it. And I can appreciate that because the car helps me get through a corner in an amazing way because of the width and the way the suspension works with it. But when you look at it, it's always the car, and I'm a big believer in this, and you can quote me on it. If you don't turn back and look at the car that you're driving when you leave it, you need to be driving a different car. And this is one of them that I've done it 1,000 times too. Not even when I have the car in my possession or when somebody else has it in their possession, I do check it out, and I do always look at it, and I do always follow them going by. So really cool stuff on the way that they did with all the flares and everything with the front splitter and everything with the wicker bill on the rear, on the rear spoiler. It's just really aggressive race background designing, and I personally love that stuff. So GM, awesome guys, keep it coming. It's going to be an awesome ride with the next few cars that you have coming on. If this is where we begin with this kind of styling standpoint, I can just imagine where it's going to go from there. So GM kind of gets a bad rap for quality build stuff sometimes, and I'm one of the scenarios where I could honestly care less, but lately, the last few years, everybody's kind of beat it up for this or for that. What goes on with the build quality of like plastics or leather or pleather or anything like that. But you guys got to see for yourself. But if you get into this car, you have a nice trim level of everything. You have all of the leather everywhere. You've got a nice oh shit handle for everybody that needs to hold on while this car goes through a corner. Pieces of carbon in different places. very well. It doesn't feel like everything's rattling apart. In fact, I haven't heard anything rattle at all the whole time I've been driving the car in a harder suspension mode. So it goes to show you the car is becoming a world-class, not only a sports car, but a supercar, and you can't defeat that in any respect because the car has earned its stripes for years and years of racing. And placing blame on an interior build quality when it's all about the performance of the car, I think is completely backwards. So what's my bottom line about my general opinion about this car? I absolutely love it. I know you guys hear me say that a lot because I'm just an all-around enthusiast in the first place, and I can tend to love a lot of different things. But I personally drive daily a Camaro SS, and I love everything about that car. In fact, it's the first car in a long time I've been in love with. And this gives all that same DNA over. This gives you all the same reasons to love it and to get along with it and want to take it somewhere and want to go show it off. And you want to compete with a lot of the bigger brands. And this is a car that can do that. It can bite you, and it can make a lot of a really hard characteristic on driving style. But you know, when you get to know it and you get to trust it and you work with it, not against it, the car is just a piece of you. It's an extension of you. And that's exactly what a sports car is supposed to be. It's an extension of your personality and the person that you are, in my true belief. So when it comes to something like a car like this, it honestly really does reflect me. I'm way too much of a show off, and some people need to tell me to shut up sometimes. But it is an excellent automobile, and nobody should really beat it up too much. Yes, it needs a tiny bit less horsepower, and yes, it does need a tiny little calibration in the rear suspension, like Randy Pope said, and I totally agree. But if you get your hands on it, I promise the car will show you a lot of cool stuff, and you won't be let down. So if you're asking, should I buy one of these? Definitely. If you can get your hands on one, definitely. And they're not like a limited production car. If you can afford it, go and do it. I promise you it'll be worth the time.